Imagine a biological switch inside every muscle cell that decides whether you build strength or slowly lose it. That switch is not mysterious. It's a molecular sensor called M2R that responds to one key signal, an essential amino acid named leucine. Here's what the research shows. When older adults eat meals higher in leucine, they trigger muscle protein synthesis more reliably. They flip the switch even when other signals, exercise hormones, are weaker. That single insight changes how we approach rebuilding muscle and defeating sarcopenia. Why this matters? Sarcopenia, the progressive loss of muscle mass and strength with age, is one of the dominant drivers of falls, loss of independence, and poorer metabolic and cognitive health in later life. Clinical groups now treat sarcopenia not as an inevitable consequence of aging, but as a modifiable condition. The science points to anabolic resistance, the blunted muscle-building response to normal meals, as the core problem. What's happening in your body and brain is a cascade. Fewer motor units fire reliably, neuromuscular signaling phrase and intracellular nutrient-sensing pathways become less sensitive. The remedy is not purely more gym time or generic protein. It's targeted nutritional signaling that resensitizes those pathways. In this speech, I'll translate that cellular biology into practical, evidence-based tools you can use immediately. You'll learn why leucine and its practical forms like whey or leucine-enriched supplements matters more than offenders like eat more protein as a slogan. You'll get step-by-step timed protocols that pair meals with simple resistance moves and behavioral hacks that make these changes habitual. I'll reference landmark human studies showing older adults need a higher per meal leucine dose to activate muscle synthesis, and we'll examine the downstream effects: better balance, more independence, improved mood, and metabolic health. Have you ever wondered why some people can eat a high-protein meal and build muscle, while others, especially as they age, see little to no response? The answer lies in something scientists call the leucine threshold. Leucine is one of the essential branch-chain amino acids, and it acts like a molecular ignition key for muscle growth. Without enough leucine in a meal, the switch that activates muscle protein synthesis, the rebuilding of muscle tissue, simply doesn't flip. Here's what the research shows. Young adults can stimulate muscle growth with as little as 1.52 grams of leucine in a meal. But in older adults, because of what's called anabolic resistance, the threshold rises. Studies suggest that older individuals may need closer to 3 grams, sometimes more, in a single meal to get the same anabolic response. That's why eating a small portion of protein here and there often isn't enough after 50 or 60. The body literally ignores the signal if leucine doesn't cross that threshold. Think of leucine like the spark plug in your car engine. You can have a full tank of gas, meaning plenty of total protein in your diet, but if the spark plug doesn't fire, the engine won't start. In the same way, without enough leucine at once, your muscle-building machinery remains idle, no matter how much protein you eat overall. So what does this mean practically? It means older adults benefit not just from more protein overall, but from protein quality and dosage per meal. Foods naturally high in leucine include whey protein, eggs, lean beef, poultry, fish, and even soy. For example, 1 scoop of whey protein isolate often provides 2.53 grams of leucine, enough to hit the threshold in a single serving. 2 large eggs deliver about 1 gram, so pairing them with yogurt, cottage cheese, or chicken ensures you cross the threshold. A simple tool to apply is this: aim for 25-30 grams of high-quality protein per meal, ensuring at least 3 grams of leucine are included. That might look like a breakfast of Greek yogurt with a handful of nuts, or a lunch of grilled salmon with quinoa. Notice how this shifts the focus away from just eating more at dinner and instead balances each meal as a muscle-building opportunity. Another layer to understand is timing. Research shows the muscle protein synthesis response is transient. It peaks within 90 minutes of leucine ingestion and returns to baseline within a few hours. That means spacing leucine-rich meals evenly throughout the day gives your muscles multiple growth signals instead of one big surge. Ask yourself, have you been front-loading your protein at night and skipping in the morning? If so, your muscles may be missing 2 extra chances every day to rebuild. Shifting just one meal, say adding a whey shake or eggs at breakfast, can double your opportunities to fight sarcopenia. There's also a psychological insight here. Many people assume age automatically equals decline, but what's happening is often a missed signal problem. When you hit your leucine threshold consistently, You're telling your body, I still need this muscle, keep building, and the body remarkably listens. We'll explore the next breakthrough in just a moment, how protein distribution, not just total intake, plays a decisive role. But before we move on, reflect on this question: what's one meal in your day you could upgrade with leucine-rich protein to cross that threshold? That single change could be the spark that keeps your strength and independence alive. Now that we've established the critical role of leucine in flipping the muscle building switch, the next question is, does it matter when and how we eat that protein? The answer from science is a resounding yes. It's not just the total protein you eat in a day that counts, it's how you distribute it across your meals. Here's what the research shows: many older adults follow a pattern called protein skewing. They'll have a light breakfast, maybe toast and coffee with just a few grams of protein, a modest lunch, and then a large dinner with the bulk of their protein intake. On paper, the daily total might look fine, but physiologically, it fails to stimulate muscle growth optimally. Why? Because muscle protein synthesis works in pulses, not in bulk. Each meal is an opportunity to send that anabolic signal if and only if it crosses the leucine threshold we just discussed. Imagine your muscles as students in a classroom. They don't learn best from one long, exhausting lecture at the end of the day. They learn better when information is broken into clear lessons throughout the day. Similarly, your muscles respond best when you give them 3 or 4 lessons of leucine-rich protein rather than saving it all for one massive meal. A study from the University of Texas demonstrated this beautifully. Participants who spread their protein intake evenly across 3 meals, roughly 30 grams each, experienced significantly greater stimulation of muscle protein synthesis compared to those who ate the same total amount of protein but with most of it at dinner. Same calories, same protein, but very different results. A simple tool to apply is this: aim for 3 balanced protein-rich meals per day, each hitting that leucine threshold. That could mean 30 grams at breakfast, 30 at lunch, and 30 at dinner. Think eggs and yogurt in the morning, chicken or beans at midday, and fish or lean meat in the evening. If you struggle to reach those numbers, a mid-morning or post-exercise protein shake can help. And here's where psychology comes into play. Many people believe that protein at breakfast is too heavy or not necessary. But reframing breakfast as one of the 3 essential muscle-building signals of your day changes its meaning. Instead of just starting the day with fuel, you're starting the day by protecting your independence, your balance, and even your metabolic health. Now, here's a question for you. Have you noticed how much lighter or weaker you feel mid-afternoon if you've skipped protein at breakfast? That energy slump is not just about blood sugar. It's also about failing to activate muscle and brain chemistry early in the day. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing to the channel. Every week I break down science like this into practical tools you can use to stay strong, sharp, and independent for life. In a moment, we'll go deeper into the synergy of resistance exercise and nutrient timing, because protein alone is powerful, but when paired with even simple movement, the effects are amplified dramatically. We've established that leucine flips the switch, and that distributing protein across meals ensures multiple daily signals. But here's where the story becomes even more powerful. When you combine those nutritional signals with resistance exercise, the effect is not just additive, it's multiplicative. What's happening in your body is remarkable. After a bout of resistance exercise, whether it's lifting weights, doing bodyweight squats, or even resistance bands, your muscle cells become hypersensitive to amino acids, especially leucine. Think of it as opening the windows wide in a house. Normally only a little breeze, nutrients gets in, but after exercise the windows are thrown open and every gram of protein you consume flows in more effectively, driving a stronger anabolic response. Here's what the research shows. The so-called anabolic window lasts for about 24 to 48 hours after resistance exercise. During this time, your muscles are primed to absorb and use protein more efficiently. That means your post-exercise meal is not just refueling, it's signaling growth and repair at the cellular level. Let's put this into real life. Imagine 2 people. One eats a leucine-rich meal but doesn't move much. The other does 15 minutes of resistance training, maybe push-ups, resistance bands, or squats against a chair, and then eats the same meal. The second person will experience significantly greater muscle protein synthesis even though the food was identical. Movement unlocks the door and leucine walks through it. A simple tool to apply is this: pair your highest protein meal of the day with some form of resistance exercise. This doesn't have to mean a full gym session. Even 10-20 minutes of resistance activity before lunch or dinner can prime your body to maximize the benefits of that meal. Over time, this pairing compounds, rebuilding strength at a rate that nutrition or exercise alone cannot achieve. Now, many people ask, what if I can't exercise intensely anymore? The answer is reassuring. Research shows even low-load resistance, using lighter weights, slower movements, or simply contracting your muscles against your own body still enhances the protein response. The key is muscle activation. As long as you challenge the muscle, you create that heightened sensitivity window. Here's a reflection. Have you noticed how much better you feel after a simple set of chair rises, wall push-ups, or climbing a flight of stairs compared to when you stay sedentary? That feeling is your nervous system and your muscles literally talking to each other, waking up those anabolic pathways. And here's the empowering part. You don't need to be an athlete to harness this. The science tells us that when nutrition and movement meet, age-related muscle decline slows dramatically and in many cases reverses. This is not theory. It's physiology working in your favor. Up until now, we've been focusing on leucine, protein distribution, and exercise, but there's a hidden system that often decides whether those strategies actually work. Your gut, what happens in your digestive tract, determines how much of the protein you eat is broken down, absorbed, and sent to your muscles. And what's even more fascinating is that your gut communicates directly with your brain, influencing inflammation, energy, and ultimately muscle health. Here's what the research shows. As we age, gut efficiency tends to decline. Stomach acid production may decrease, making protein harder to digest. Low-grade inflammation in the gut, sometimes called inflammaging, can interfere with nutrient absorption. And shifts in the gut microbiome can reduce the body's ability to process amino acids effectively. In short, even if you're eating enough leucine, your body might not be getting the full benefit if your gut isn't functioning optimally. Think of your gut like the postal service. You can have valuable packages, in this case amino acids like oats, onions, and bananas provide fuel for beneficial bacteria. Second, by reducing systemic inflammation. Chronic inflammation diverts amino acids away from muscle building and toward immune activity. Omega-3 fats from fish, nuts, or flax seeds are proven to reduce inflammation and improve muscle protein synthesis. Likewise, maintaining hydration and reducing highly processed foods helps calm the gut environment. Here's a simple tool. Try pairing your protein meals with something that supports digestion. For example, Greek yogurt with berries at breakfast, or salmon with steamed vegetables and olive oil at dinner. This pairing not only gives you the leucine and protein you need, but also supports your gut in delivering those nutrients effectively. And let's not forget the gut-brain connection. The vagus nerve, which links your digestive tract and your brain, influences how well your body coordinates nutrient use. Practices like slow breathing, mindfulness, or even eating in a calm environment can activate this parasympathetic pathway, enhancing digestion and nutrient absorption. Have you ever noticed how eating in a rushed, stressful state leaves you feeling bloated or heavy? That's your gut-brain axis at work, showing you that state matters as much as content. This is also where psychology comes in. If we view food not just as calories, but as signals, messages to the body about growth and repair, we begin to eat differently. Instead of grabbing something quick, we choose meals that build both our muscles and our resilience. If this resonates with you, take a moment to subscribe and join this community. Every week we explore how science can be translated into tools for living stronger, healthier, and more independent lives. We've talked about nutrients, digestion, and exercise, but here's a truth that often gets overlooked. Muscles don't just weaken because of lost tissue. They weaken because the brain stops recruiting them efficiently. This is where neuromuscular activation comes in. The ability of your nervous system to fire motor units, the bundles of muscle fibers controlled by nerves, in a strong and coordinated way. Here's what the research shows. With age, the communication between brain and muscle becomes less reliable. Some motor neurons die off, leaving muscle fibers orphaned without regular recruitment. Those fibers shrink and eventually disappear. But the encouraging news is that this decline isn't fixed. It responds powerfully to practice. When you intentionally activate and challenge muscles, you rewire neural pathways, keeping those connections alive. Think of your muscles like a choir. Over time, if the conductor of your brain stops signaling certain singers, muscle fibers, their voices fade. But when the conductor calls on them consistently, the entire choir stays strong and harmonious. So how do we strengthen neuromuscular activation in daily life? One way is by engaging in compound movements, exercises that involve multiple muscle groups like squats, push-ups, or step-ups. These movements require the brain to recruit many motor units simultaneously, reinforcing those neural connections. Even something as simple as standing from a chair without using your hands or practicing heel raises trains the brain muscle pathway. Another strategy is to add intention to your movements. For example, instead of mindlessly curling a dumbbell, focus on contracting the biceps fully and controlling the lowering phase. This mindful approach, often called the mind-muscle connection, has been shown to increase activation of targeted fibers. A simple tool, add a few minutes each day of deliberate neuromuscular practice. That could mean slow, controlled squats, holding onto a chair, balance drills like standing on one leg, or even resistance band pulls with focused breathing. These not only activate dormant motor units, but also improve balance and coordination, directly reducing the risk of falls. Ask yourself, how often do you move with focus versus just getting it done? The difference might be the key to whether your workouts truly protect you from sarcopenia. And here's the empowering perspective. By training your neuromuscular system, you're not just building muscle, you're maintaining the brain's map of your body. That map is what allows you to reach, climb stairs, and react quickly when you stumble. It's not just strength, it's independence. Next, we'll bring it all together with the final piece of the puzzle, the psychology of habit loops. Because none of this matters if it doesn't stick long term. That's where identity, routines, and emotional drivers make muscle health a way of life rather than a short-term project. At this point, we've covered the biology, leucine thresholds, protein distribution, nutrient timing, gut health, and neuromuscular activation. But here's the hard truth. Knowledge alone rarely creates lasting change. What determines whether you actually apply these tools daily is psychology. This is where habit loops and identity come in. Here's what the research shows. Habits are built around a simple loop, cue, routine, reward. Your brain conserves energy by automating behaviors, so whatever you repeat consistently in the same context becomes wired in. The challenge is that many of our default loops work against us. Skipping protein at breakfast, sitting too long, or eating in a rush to rebuild muscle and fight sarcopenia, we need to re-engineer those loops in our favor. Think of it like programming. If your brain is the operating system, habits are the apps running in the background. You can uninstall the ones that drain you and install new ones that serve your goals. So how do we apply this to muscle health? Start with the cue. Place a resistance band by your kitchen table so that every time you make coffee, you're reminded to do a few pulls. Next, the routine practice, that small movement daily. Then the reward, feel the immediate sense of energy, or pair it with something enjoyable like listening to your favorite song. Over time, the loop becomes automatic. Another powerful psychological tool is identity. Research in behavioral science shows that people stick to habits not by chasing outcomes, but by embodying identities. Instead of saying, I'm trying to eat more protein, you tell yourself, I'm the kind of person who fuels my body to stay strong. When you internalize that identity, the actions flow more naturally. Here's a practical strategy. Link your new muscle health habits to values that matter deeply to you. For example, instead of seeing exercise as just working out, reframe it as staying strong so I can play with my grandchildren, or protecting my independence so I can keep living on my terms. The emotional meaning locks the habit in place far more effectively than willpower alone. Ask yourself, what identity do you want to reinforce? Do you want to be the person who slowly loses strength, or the one who proves that vitality at any age is possible? Your daily choices are votes for that identity. And here's the inspiring part. You don't need massive overhauls. Small, repeated actions, like hitting your leucine threshold at breakfast, doing 10 minutes of resistance training before lunch, or practicing mindful chewing at dinner, compound into powerful outcomes. Habits, once set, carry you forward with very little extra effort. So as we move to the conclusion, remember this: science gives us the what and the why, but psychology ensures the how. Marrying the two is what makes strength and vitality sustainable for life. We've traveled through the science, the strategies, and the psychology of muscle health. Let's pause and pull the pieces together into a clear roadmap. First, we began with the leucine threshold, the ignition switch that decides whether muscle protein synthesis turns on or stays silent. For younger adults, a small spark is enough, but with age, that spark must be brighter. That means aiming for meals that deliver at least 3 grams of leucine, often around 25-30 grams of high-quality protein per meal. Second, we learned that it's not just the total protein that matters, it's the distribution. By spreading protein across 3 balanced meals, you create multiple daily signals to your muscles instead of relying on one oversized dinner. It's like giving your muscles 3 chances to grow instead of just 1. Third, we saw the synergy of resistance, exercise, and nutrient timing. Movement primes the body to respond to protein like fertile soil waiting for seeds. Even 10 minutes of focused resistance activity can open the windows wide for amino acids to enter and rebuild. Pairing meals with movement compounds your efforts, creating exponential benefits. Fourth, we uncovered the role of the gut-brain-muscle axis. Your digestion, microbiome, and inflammatory state all decide whether the nutrients you consume actually reach your muscles. Supporting your gut with fiber, fermented foods, hydration, and mindful eating ensures the delivery system stays strong. Fifth, we explored neuromuscular activation, the direct communication line between brain and muscle. Strength is not just tissue, it's wiring. By practicing mindful, compound, and balance-focused movements, you keep motor units alive, sharpen coordination, and protect independence. And finally, we tied it together with the psychology of habit loops, because the best science won't matter unless it becomes automatic in your daily life. By shaping cues, routines, and rewards, and by anchoring habits to your identity and values, you create a system where muscle health becomes part of who you are. So what does this mean for you? It means sarcopenia is not an inevitable destiny. It means the loss of muscle, energy, and independence can be slowed, reversed, and transformed with simple but powerful choices. It means that every meal is a chance to send your body a signal. Keep building, stay strong. Every movement is a chance to remind your nervous system, I still use this, don't let it go. And every small habit is a vote for your future self. Here's my challenge for you today. Choose one meal in the next 24 hours and upgrade it. Make sure it crosses that leucine threshold. Maybe that's a protein-rich breakfast with eggs and yogurt, or a lunch with chicken and beans, or even a whey shake paired with resistance bands. Do it deliberately, knowing you're flipping the switch in your cells. That one change will not only nourish your muscles, but reinforce the identity of someone who takes their strength seriously. As you practice these tools, hitting your leucine threshold, distributing protein, pairing meals with movement, supporting your gut, activating neuromuscular pathways, and building habits that last, you're not just protecting muscle, you're protecting freedom, resilience, and the ability to keep doing the things you love. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to join this community. Like this video, leave a comment about the first habit you'll start with, and subscribe so you don't miss the science-backed tools we explore every week. Together, we can redefine what it means to age, not as decline, but as an opportunity to grow stronger in body, brain, and spirit. Your body is always listening. Let's give it the right signals.